Welcome back. Demonstrations popping up all over the country against the current shelter-in-place orders. Protesters are calling for the country to reopen. Rallies are planned this week in Missouri and Maine and today in Pennsylvania. Joining me right now is the Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro. Mr. AG, thanks very much for being here. Really appreciate it. Your thoughts on the protests and now this new narrative where coronavirus is actually now leading to tracking and tracing people, creeping up on our civil liberties.
Look, this shouldn't be a partisan political issue. This should be a public health issue. And I fully understand the frustration of the people who are planning to come to Harrisburg and our state capital today. But I would just respectfully urge them to listen to the president, listen to governors, listen to the medical experts who are saying we shouldn't be congregating in large places. I worry about their own safety and well-being. That's why I'm working my tail off every day as Pennsylvania's Attorney General to protect their livelihoods, to make sure that they get resources, that they get help from banks, that we combat price gouging, that we look after them.
Oh, yeah. No, we're seeing we're seeing the country come together in a way we haven't seen in a long time. But I mean, this is not a law. I mean, you can't throw somebody in jail for not social distancing, right? These are guidelines.
Well, look, Maria, there's interesting rule of law questions. I would hope it doesn't get to that, but certainly protesters have a constitutional right to protest and have their voice be heard. And of course, I'll stand up and defend that as Pennsylvania's top lawyer. But I think we also have to understand that there are powers given to executives like the president, like the governor, to protect us in a time of crisis like this. Look, we know from people gathering at funerals, we know from people gathering in public places, at beaches, that you can contract coronavirus, that you can spread it. We're trying to do everything in our power to make sure that we mitigate the disease so folks can get back to work, so that we can deal with the 1.4 million Pennsylvanians who are out of work. And so I just ask folks to respectfully heed these warnings from the medical experts. Let's not turn this into a partisan issue, and let's all continue to come together, as so many Pennsylvanians have, to deal with this crisis.
Yeah. You know, I guess the issue here is that this is a slippery slope, right, AG? I mean, how do we know that you're going to take the tracing and the tracking of my life? How do I know you're going to you're not going to keep doing that after we get out of this pandemic? You know, how do we know that you're going to take my temperature when I walk into a building? What else are you testing me for? How do I know what you're testing me for? So all of this stuff is why people are protesting. Can you give assurances that you are not going to become China and start tracking citizens once we get out of this pandemic?
Well, first off, Maria, I'm not taking your temperature and I'm not tracking you, but I get the point of your question. And I think the most important thing here is that leaders are honest with people, that they explain the reason why we need to do a test before we can get back to work, that we explain to people what this is all about and help them understand their role in the process, why something as simple as wearing a mask can protect others, why taking a temperature or test is important, and that we have both transparency and honesty about not only why we're doing it, but what we're doing with that data. And I think that that's going to be incumbent upon the president, any governor, any medical expert who's asking the American people to do that.
Oh, I understand that, but just to be clear, one of the ways we're going to open up the economy again is to know who was tested and who wasn't. And I've been talking about this, you know, inoculation passport, that it's on your phone, and so they are tracking us. I mean, that's what that's about, you know, tracking to see who has the virus, who was inoculated, who wasn't, who has the antibodies, who doesn't. That's what this is about, tracking and tracing. And the worry is that tracking and tracing continues. So you say, oh, I'm not taking your temperature, I'm not tracking you. Well, government officials are. This is what we're talking about. So that's why I brought up the question. But we here at Fox Business, go ahead, answer that. And then I want to tell you what we're doing here.
Look, that's one idea. We all recognize that in the absence of a vaccine, we've got to piecemeal this thing. That's why testing is so important.
Good point.
But that's also why being honest with the American people about why we're doing things, not talking out of both sides of our mouth, not stoking fear, but actually making sure people understand what's at stake and what their role is in this process. That's what I want to see from our leaders. Leaders need to speak and act with moral clarity. Right now is that moment in time for everyone, governors, the president, and everyone else to do that work, Maria.
Yeah, this is a great point that you're making, and I'm really glad we're having this conversation because this is the conversation taking place across the country. This is what people are talking about in terms of these protests. We all know that we want to get through this and get this virus out of our lives forever. Of course, we want to do the right thing, want to wear masks, whatever it takes. But protesters do not want their civil liberties messed with. Now, here at Fox Business, we're focusing on America together during this coronavirus, how people have come together. Attorney General, you've launched a campaign to highlight members of the community, businesses that are going above and beyond, taking care of friends, neighbors, employees during this pandemic. Tell us about that. This is exactly what we're talking about here with America Together.
Right. Look, Maria, in my job as Pennsylvania's Attorney General, I see the worst of the worst. And sometimes you can forget that there's so much good in the world. And we're seeing the American people and Pennsylvanians coming together in remarkable ways. I'm reminded of the words of Mr. Rogers, a famous Western Pennsylvanian who said, in times of crisis, look for the helpers. So I look to the employees of Braskem America in southeastern Pennsylvania who make polypropylene, a really important product for these N95 masks and other PPE. They stayed at work and slept at work for 28 straight days so that frontline workers would have what they need. I look at Michael Rubin and Fanatics, who make baseball uniforms, who say, you know, we're not going to have a Major League Baseball season right now, so we're going to convert our factory into making masks to protect people. I'm looking at the police and fire and other first responders and the hospital workers and the grocery store workers and big food chains like Giant Eagle in Pennsylvania who are paying their workers more. People doing the right thing. And that is what we need to highlight day in, day out. I'm grateful to Fox for doing that. That's what we're trying to do with our hashtag here, the helpers. And I encourage you to share your stories of the helpers, because at the end of the day, Maria, the way we get through this is by pulling together and recognizing that, you know, look, nobody's required to complete the task, but neither are we free to refrain from it. We all have a responsibility. We all have to do our part.
Big shout out to the American people who just saw what was happening and followed orders and followed rules and started staying home and did everything that they needed to. And big shout out to business, who's really stepped up in all of this. AG Josh Shapiro, great conversation. Please come back soon. Loved it. Important issues that we discussed.
Stay
Thank you,
safe,
Josh.
Maria.